Dr. Cousens has been a regular guest. Go to GoVeganRadio.com. You can hear his programs archived. And when you stop by my booth, right behind me is Dr. Cousens' booth. And you're going to want to probably pick up one of his many books. He's the founder and director of the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center in Patagonia, Arizona, and a world-renowned speaker, an MD, holistic medicine, Ayurvedic diplomat, and has a great has a library already: spiritual nutrition, conscious eating, rainbow green life cuisine, depression free for life. And as I mentioned, it seems like everything wrong with the world comes from meat eating, and apparently this diabetes epidemic is in, that's all you hear about is diabetes right now. And there's a cure, believe it or not. It's one that's going to be discussed today, and it's the subject of Dr. Cousens' new book coming out, which you can get from Amazon now, but it'll be out in January. There is a cure for diabetes, and that's the name of the book, and it'll be most of what's discussed here today by Dr. Gabriel Cousens.
Welcome, everybody. How are you this morning? Good. Good. Let's just do like a little om to kind of resonate our minds so we're totally here. Sound check. Can you hear okay? Okay. So I have to just have it facing my mouth.
A little bit louder, someone said.
How about this better? Okay, thank you. It's like a little bit eating it. But, so we have to start with the basics. Society is always taken by surprise by any new example of common sense. And this is what we're talking about with diabetes. It is pretty amazing to understand that, quite frankly, with live foods, people have been healing diabetes since 1920. This is not a new idea. Max Gerson healed Dr. Albert Schweitzer in 1920 of diabetes and his wife of TB with a live food diet. Not a new idea. Quite frankly, I've been doing this since about 30 years, but about 2 years ago, one of our people said, family business said, look, let's do a month of live foods and see how we can do it. If we take the junk food, prototype McDonald's or Big Mac or whatever, people who have no interest at all, have no clue at all what's going on, and let's play. Let's see. We know we can do it with people who are already with the lifestyle. That's easy. And so, well, let's really up the ante a little bit and let's do it with diabetes. So let's get diabetics to come. And now we'll really have something to talk about, because, people are interested in vegetarian, vegan, and live food, but diabetes? That's a lot of people. That's 21 million people with diabetes and 54 million who are pre-diabetic. That's a lot of people. 75 million people, a lot of people. So, in a sense, that's how this book and this information came about. But in a way, again, it's not a new idea, but we've put it into a very interesting program that's coming out in our book. There is a cure for diabetes. It's a 21-day process with a year follow-up. Why a year follow-up? Because it takes time to make the transition from the culture of death to the culture of life. That's exactly what Bob was talking about. And we're very specific. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But it's a whole concept. I was just speaking with someone who cured their diabetes doing 100% live, and then the culture of death, the shadow of the culture of death grabbed them, and they got caught with pizza. But that's perfect. That's the way it works. And it takes time to change. So we worked out a whole program both here and also in the Middle East near the Dead Sea, in Israel, where we're serving all of Europe. We have 2 sets of diabetes programs, and hopefully soon we'll also have it in South America. So that's key. Next slide. So this is the pandemic. What's a pandemic? 254 million people have diabetes. That's a lot of people. And it's increasing drastically. We spend $246 million just in this country alone, and they expect that it will up to almost $400 million spent on that, which was somewhere between, in the U.S., but the whole world, it's somewhere between 7 and 13% of the world health budget, which is immense. So let's just go quickly through it, and you'll see the colors, obviously the yellow being more serious. This is the world picture. It gets worse and worse. Keep going. And here the estimates are 225. Okay? Deaths attributed to diabetes worldwide. Again, keep going, and you can see it gets worse. And this is diabetes in the United States. The darker colors are worse, and you can see it just gets worse and worse and worse with the years. Worse and worse and worse. Worse and worse and worse. And, you know, pretty soon, we're all red. Keep going, please. Okay, what's going on? Well, you can see here that the fast food culture has permeated even our school system. These are actual pictures, actually in Tucson, where you see people, you know, being supported in their educational system by the fast food culture, meat and dairy. So this is the reality that we're facing. The average child sees about 20,000 hours of TV commercials. That's a lot per year. The research on diabetes shows, and this is fascinating, if you're watching more than 19 hours per week, you are going to be 150% more likely to get diabetes. Because it's affecting your consciousness. Culture of death is permeating your consciousness. Eat this junk food, eat this, do this, and of course you're not exercising. And for every 2 extra hours to that, add another 14%. 2 extra hours per average per week. Okay, next slide. And our children is getting worse. This is even the worst. So you can see the graph as we move up here that there's been a significant increase in particularly type 2 diabetes. In the last few years, type 2 diabetes, which usually runs about 4% of kids under 10, is now running 25%. That's immense. Go a little further, and what you see is in Texas they're saying 1 out of 2 children born in Texas after the year 2000 will get diabetes. What does that mean? What does it mean for a 10-year-old to get diabetes? The research shows that you lose approximately 10 to 19 years off your life. That's a lot. And somewhere about 15 years after you get it, you start getting the degenerative effects. 2 to 4 times more heart disease, significant more kidney disease, neuropathy, blindness. The leading cause of blindness is diabetes. So kids hitting 25, which for me that's a kid, they're already going downhill. Their life is downhill. That means that they're going to have 20 times more gangrene, up to 46 more times amputation from poor circulation. And I said 2 to 4 times more heart attacks. That's called downhill. Okay? Keep going. So that's what we're talking about. Keep next slide, please. And 1 in 3, but it's 1 in 2 in Texas. I'm going to go back. There's one quote here from the Boston Globe. Next slide, please. Diabetes is sweeping so rapidly through America, we need not waste time giving children bicycles. Just give them a wheelchair. So you're getting, this is a serious problem. This is not a joke. And what it's coming out of is the culture of death. It is a symptom of the culture of death. It's not an accident. You're not catching diabetes in the, you know, like, oh, I caught a virus or I caught that. It's like, we're creating, this is, in India we call it crimes against wisdom. Crimes against wisdom. Eating a high sugar and a high animal fat diet is a crime against wisdom, and we pay the price. Next slide, please. So, okay, we just said that. Okay, age, of course, it gets increased with age. Keep going. And income, if your income is less than $25,000, that's the green one, you're going to have a much higher rate of diabetes. Basically about twice the rate.